Lewis Hamilton shuts down Max Verstappen. Question after Australian Grand Prix, Hamilton lost his pole position on the opening corner of the race to Mercedes teammate Valtteri Bottas. The Finn went on to open up a 21-second lead at the front of the pack to win the race. All the action was happening behind Bottas, as Red Bull's Verstappen overtook Sebastian Vettel and began applying pressure to Hamilton. The 21-year-old Dutchman almost came into DRS reach of the Brit but ended up having to settle for third place. When Hamilton was quizzed on the pressure after the race, he played down Verstappen's effort. "There was no problem," Hamilton briefly commented. Meanwhile, Verstappen felt he could have stole second place from Hamilton. "I had to overtake Seb to get onto the podium to get onto here, which is not easy around here," he said. "I was also happy to get onto here and then to challenge Lewis for second. I am pretty pleased with that." However, Verstappen drove over the grass late in the race, which gave him a slight setback. "It was unfortunate, but I don't think it would have changed the end result," he added. "To start the season on the podium and challenging the Mercedes car ahead is a very positive start for us. A big well done to the team after the difficult Friday we had." Next news: Vettel, "I guess we were just slow." Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari were left scratching their heads over their lack of pace in Sunday's Australian GP, which left the driver down in fourth place. Starting Sunday's Grand Prix from third on the grid, Vettel had hoped to challenge the Mercedes drivers, but it was not to be. Trailing Lewis Hamilton by 4 seconds, Ferrari pitted the German early, allowing him to reduce the gap to Hamilton to 2 seconds. That, though, was as close as it would get. Vettel struggled on his second set of tires, the mediums, and began losing ground to the Mercedes drivers before also losing out to Max Verstappen. The Dutchman, on tires that were 10 laps fresher, easily took the final podium position off Vettel. Confused about his lack of pace, Vettel told Ferrari nothing left to these tires, absolutely nothing, as he completed the 58 laps. He later explained, "I guess we were just slow. I didn't have much chance to fight anyone, just a case of getting to the end. Not quite sure what the issue was." As for his tire woes, he said, "I was struggling with the tires, but even ignoring the lap I pitted, it looks like everyone else was having way less problems than I was." Vettel finished the Grand Prix 57 seconds behind race winner, Valtteri Bottas. Next news: race, Bottas back with a vengeance in Melbourne. After a winless 2018 campaign, Valtteri Bottas came out fighting in Melbourne on Sunday, taking an easy victory ahead of Lewis Hamilton in Mercedes' first 1-2 of the season. Bottas made a lightning start and got the jump on Hamilton to lead the Australian Grand Prix. The Finn, who insisted throughout the preseason that he can win this year's championship, showed fighting spirit after losing out on pole 24 hours earlier. He built up a lead of more than 4 seconds over Hamilton when the Brit came into the pits for his stop on lap 16. Mercedes reacted to Ferrari stopping Sebastian Vettel a lap earlier, lessening the impact of the Scuderia's attempts at an undercut. Vettel was just 2 seconds behind Hamilton, having halved the deficit. Back at the front, Bottas stayed out as his soft tires continued to deliver. While Hamilton seemed to struggle on his mediums, Bottas laid down a new fastest lap of the race on lap 19 and again on lap 22. Bottas, leading Max Verstappen by 15s, pitted on lap 23, 7 laps later than Hamilton. Verstappen and Charles Leclerc also ran long first stints, coming in on laps 26 and 29. Leclerc put on the hard tires, those he was racing against were all on the mediums. As the stops played out, Bottas was leading by 15 seconds ahead of Hamilton, who had Vettel in his mirrors. The Ferrari driver in turn was being hunted by Verstappen, who was on tires that were 11 laps fresher. Verstappen used DRS to take third off Vettel, the German unable to launch a defense of any sort. As Bottas romped ever closer to the win, Hamilton came under pressure from Verstappen. The Red Bull driver, in his Honda-powered RB15, closed the gap to just over a second only to make a mistake and run off the track. That settled the podium with Bottas taking the win by 21 seconds ahead of Hamilton and Verstappen. With Vettel struggling for pace, and asking Ferrari why, Leclerc closed the gap to 7/10 only to seemingly be told to hold station. He backed off and finished the race 5th to Vettel's P4. Kevin Magnussen was 6th ahead of Nico Hülkenberg, Kimi Räikkönen and Lance Stroll, while Renio Kvyat held off Pierre Gasly for the final point. Lando Norris was P12 on his debut as he had fun playing with the Alfa Romeos, first with Räikkönen and then Antonio Giovinazzi. He wasn't able to pass Räikkönen, but after several attempts made it stick against the other Alfa. Giovinazzi dropped back to 15th place. As to be expected, Williams claimed the wooden spoon with George Russell P16, while Robert Kubica, who damaged his front wing on the very first lap when he drove into the back of Pierre Gasly, was 17th. They were 2 and 3 laps down on race winner Bottas. Carlos Sainz delivered the first retirement of the Grand Prix as his Renault-powered McLaren went up in smoke on lap 11. He pulled into the pit lane entrance before stopping the car while marshals rushed to the scene with fire extinguishers. It was a wretched start for Australia's Daniel Ricciardo as he tried to sneak up the inside of Sergio Perez only to run onto the grass and lose his front wing. He was forced into the pits for a new nose and came out at the back of the pack. Ricciardo retired on lap 31, parking his RS19 in the Renault garage. Moments later, Romain Grosjean, who had a tardy pit stop when Haas battled to change his front left, pulled off onto the side of the track. The front left wheel was wobbling as he came to a halt, reporting that the suspension is broken. As for the new point for the fastest lap, that went to Bottas on lap 57 to bring his tally to 26 points. Result 1: Valtteri Bottas Mercedes 2, Lewis Hamilton Mercedes 20.886 S3, Max Verstappen Red Bull 22.520 S4, Sebastian Vettel Ferrari 56.417 S5, Charles Leclerc Ferrari 58.878 S6, Kevin Magnussen Haas 86.636 S7, Nico Hülkenberg Renault 1 lap 8, Kimi Räikkönen Alfa Romeo Racing 1 lap 9, Lance Stroll Racing Point 1 lap 10, Daniel Kvyat Toro Rosso 1 lap 11, Pierre Gasly Red Bull 1 lap 12, Lando Norris McLaren 1 lap 13, Sergio Perez Racing Point 1 lap 14, Alex Albon Toro Rosso 1 lap 15, Antonio Giovinazzi Alfa Romeo Racing 1 lap 16, George Russell Williams 2 laps 17, Robert Kubica Williams 3 laps did not finish, Grosjean Haas Ricciardo Renault Sainz McLaren. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to share and subscribe to your channel to get the latest sports news around the world. Wished health and success. Goodbye.